Oh man. Not seeing the stream. Oh, what the heck? It's on. Oh, nice. Very nice. Yo, Trevor. Welcome in, bro. I just wanted to make a short disclaimer. I got my back wisdom teeth taken out on Tuesday, and it's been pretty painful. I do got some antibiotics here. But I think I'll be able to manage for a little bit, and I thought I'd do kind of an easy stream, so I was going to react to oh shit, what happened there? I'm gonna react to an old video that I made walking around my town, because we had a protest here at the Capitol steps here in Sacramento, and it was when the Supreme Court was overturning Roe v. Wade, which had a lot to do with abortion and kind of sent abortion back to the states, but maybe a little bit. And so this is the video right here. That's me. It is kind of long. I made this a few years ago. I'd say I wasn't that good at making videos back then, but we're just gonna see and just have a little bit of fun. But if it does become kind of too much for me, then I might have to call it, which I hope I don't have to do. If you're tuning in now, I would probably skip over like 5 minutes. If you're watching this after the live, see if I can get. This never works. I got this thing called Twidget, and it's supposed to show people's comments live on the screen. Voice sounds fine. Don't worry about it. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It makes me feel better. I was a little self-conscious about that. It's just been it was crazy, bro. Like, they ripped the teeth out, man, and there's kind of a story there, but it's a little stupid, Okay. So what's up, man? Is this gonna work? And it ain't working. Let me try it. Restart it. Dun, 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 dun. I hope you're doing well, man. I'm not sure if we'll have that many folks in today, but I didn't want to let Saturday go by and not stream, like, regardless of how much this hurts. I wanted to be able to say hi to you guys, and I enjoy streaming. So to me, that's fun. You know what I'm saying? But okay, no dice, didn't work. Start. Try one more time. If it doesn't work, too bad. We'll see if some other folks come in here or not. I mean, if not, we'll just go ahead and just have fun and watch this. You know what I mean? And just have a good time. I do have a research paper here on abortion. I was reading a little bit about the history of abortion and in the U.S., and I didn't read a lot of it. I wanted to read like this whole thing, but sleep got the best of me. But maybe later on, if I still have a little bit of energy. Oh shit, I forgot to turn on a light. There we go. Yeah, maybe later on, if I got a bit of energy and it's not too boring, we can read through like the first couple pages of this, and it's just gonna give us like a pretty good idea about the process of what laws and what Supreme Court decisions. Yo, Klaus, big shout out to you, man, and a big shout out to Trevor. I didn't give you one of these. Appreciate you being in here, Klaus, man. Hope you're doing well. I know you put a message in the Discord for me. I gotta go in there and read that. So forgive me for that. And yeah, it looks like we're going live here, but yeah, so other than that, man, that's where I'm at. Hope you guys are doing well. And I appreciate you guys. What's funny about this video right here that I'm going to be reacting to, because this is just my own video. There is some stuff I wanted to react to, but I figure I'd just save it for a dedicated video. We had a discussion on Twitter between Tariq Nasheed and Myron Gaines, and it was kind of the self-improvement manosphere guru types coming in against these folks that have a platform looking to advance that for reparations for Black Americans. And there was a lot of debate between victim mindset versus systemic kind of oppression And I found that there were kind of interesting parallels there between, people that kind of tell us, hey, if you're unhappy, you got to keep self-improving and you should stop complaining. But on the other hand, we got a family law system that is, essentially oppressive against men, at least, especially traditional men. So I found that to be quite interesting. And I was like, the red pill self-improvement gurus might unwittingly find themselves in a debate, in a challenge from people who won't accept that they have, they won't accept being told just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. So we'll see. Yo, Dan the man, welcome in, man. Oh man, there we go. I appreciate seeing you in here. Just to give you a quick rundown. Whew. Sorry. I'm not going to cut this early. I don't care how much it hurts. I got my yerba mate with me, and I got some antibiotics. I did just take an ibuprofen before this, which I hope does not make me feel drowsy. But anyways, yeah, this was a video I made a little over 2 years ago now. I really didn't get that many views. But this is downtown Sacramento, and they were protesting abortion, and right behind me on the thumbnail there is the state capitol, and they were having basically a function. This is like the people who are protesting the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I also appreciate what you said there about my teeth, man. Thank you, Dan. And on the other side of the street, you can't see it in this picture, but we're standing on the sidewalk, and right on the other side of the street are the conservative folks who set up a smaller counter protest. So what happened is you had people on both sides of the street yelling at each other, and I went and I interviewed both of them. I will probably skip some parts of this. This thing is 39 minutes long, and 2.5 years ago when I was making stuff, I think I just didn't understand that maybe in some instances you want to cut out a lot more of the fluff. So yeah, if I skip anything, it's just because it's taken too long. And I explained this earlier to Trevor and Klaus, but if I got energy and you guys feel like it, I do got this academic paper about abortion and some of the laws and the history of how abortion rights came in for women and what that looked like. So we can even read a couple pages of this. I think I kind of have a suspicion that there is a tie, like we talk about child support, we talk about welfare, but we talk about out of wedlock birth rates going up, and all of these things kind of meld in together. And I got a feeling that abortion plays a role into this, and birth control. And there are some papers I was reading about the U.S. welfare system, about how some welfare agencies were asking women to take birth control and were giving them an incentive payment to do so. So you'd get more welfare if you were on the implant, which would mean, you can't have kids for at least 4 or 5 years, however long that lasts. I can't remember. And so there was this coordinated effort to push birth control onto people out here in order to kind of save on the welfare tax dollars. And my suspicion with all of this is that I think people thought it was okay to push this stuff on people who lived on the other side of the railroad tracks. It's like, they're not us. Like, they're not us. They're not middle class us. And that's just those bad people on the other side of the railroad tracks of the fence. And they just can't get it together. But I think what they never expected was that pushing these programs on those people would result in that creating a kind of culture that then found its way back to the middle class suburbia, and you started getting this culture of strong and independent and all these kinds of things. So that's my hunch. I'm still kind of researching a lot of this stuff. Yo, voiceover warrior. Good to see you in here, man. Outlaw's in the building. Hope you're feeling better. So yeah, just for the folks who don't know, Outlaw Shaw was my old name before I changed it to This Is Shaw. And I think it was kind of inspired from Robin Hood. I actually do archery, not professional, but just fun. And if you think of the outlaws and sort of the Robin Hood story, and Robin Hood was, I don't know, I was just a fan. Somehow that kind of got a thing, and Maybe I'm just not as big of an outlaw as I thought I was, and I do kind of tend to follow the law here sometimes. But anyways, yo, Shadrach, appreciate you in here, man. And yeah, just another disclaimer, man. If my voice ain't sounding right, it's just the wisdom teeth acting up. I can't actually chew right now. It's pretty bad. I've just been eating eggs for the most part. What I do is I just have it on a low temp pan and I just kind of cook the eggs really soft so I can just swallow them. And I got them out on Tuesday, and after 3 days, man, they were hurting so bad. And I went yesterday on the fourth day. I went back to the dentist, and I was just like, man, what is this pulsing pain? This ain't right. I tell you, it ain't tasting right. And the lady's looking at me, and she's just like, oh, well, have you been taking your antibiotics? And I'm just like, they didn't give me any antibiotics. They just gave me painkillers. And then so that came out. So then they finally gave me the antibiotics. So I started that yesterday. And I double checked with the pharmacy, and I was just like, hey, did you guys get a prescription for antibiotics? On Tuesday, they were like, no, just a painkiller. So I was just like, oh, man, there was a little bit of a mishap happening. But it's okay. We're back on track. Oh, shit. Is the air horn too loud? I can actually put that down. I'm going to do that right now for you guys. Let me just put this down real quick. Damn it, where's my air horn at? Okay, I put it down a tiny bit, man. If it's too loud, but I swear to God, if there's one thing I don't like, it's people who don't care about other people's speakers. That stuff annoys the hell out of me. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oop, that's the... Okay, so that's a little quieter. I might put it up a tad bit. There we go. All right, so that's that. Let me hit save on the sound kit. Okay, so let's get into this, man. We got folks in here, and we got a show to get to. So again, yeah, this is me. I wanted to talk about some other stuff. You know what I mean? This Myron, Sneeko, and Tariq Nasheed debate seemed pretty good. We got Pop the Balloon guy, all this stuff that happened. But, I felt like if I can't give my all with my teeth, I'll just save it for next week. So we'll go ahead and start this, man. Okay. And I might skip some stuff. Okay, so there's going to be some nasty language here. I probably, if it was me editing now, I would have censored it. But back then, I just thought it wasn't that big of a deal, so I apologize for that.
Is it the size? Is it the location?
See, so let me just... So these are... Behind them is the state capitol. These are all the pro-abortion folks. And then over here, these are the Christian conservative or just whatever, whoever is not for abortion. And they set up their thing on that side. And they're separated by the street, right? So they're just yelling at each other.
The location?
Also, the camera work is terrible. Just like you got older women, younger women, just all kinds of them. I even talked to some older women. In the video, I talked to this older lady who used to be like Catholic. And she was interesting. She had an interesting perspective. So we're going to hear both perspectives today. She even came up and talked to me after I was done filming and had more to say. But look at this girl sign. It says, this woman sign says, taking away her rights won't make her respond to your unsolicited dick pic. So again, this protest was when that memo came out that they were going to be overturning or whatever Roe versus Wade. They're going to be going back on that, and these folks weren't happy.
I kind of want to just ask them that question, just for them.
The best argument can be taken by you eating my ass, motherfucker!
I had to put that in the beginning because it was just grotesque.
Yeah.
And then this guy was standing here. He was just yelling, like, go home, go home. It was just... And then you had Planned Parenthood. Another thing I suspect is that there is just a big story with Planned Parenthood, and all this stuff intertwines with welfare and child support and all these things. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, but, I need to find more papers.
Where we at today? Where we going? All right, right now we're on...
All right, yeah, now we know. We done seen it. All right.
What's gonna happen?
Okay, so this was the first guy I talked to.
Abortion made society better or worse?
Oh yeah, I was basically just asking people one question: has abortion made our society better or worse? So like that was the best I can come up with back then. And yeah, just full disclosure. So this gentleman had something to say.
Actually, it's just healthcare. So it makes it better, because anytime you have the right to healthcare, society is better.
Got it. If Roe v. Wade gets overturned, what's gonna happen?
Society will be lessened because we'll have less healthcare. Less healthcare improves lives, improves society, improves economies, and improves lots of things. It's a woman's right to choose. I'm all about a woman's right to choose, as do I have the same right to choose a vasectomy or whatever I choose.
So when you look at these folks here,
Well, and he's kind of talking about a right to choose for men prior to it leaving. Like there's consent in the sex, you have unprotected sex, but once it leaves your body and she's pregnant, the abortion right is unilaterally hers. And kind of going to our history abortion paper here that I might read later. A lot of these landmark cases, Roe v. Wade, Doe v. Bolton, made it that it was, the woman's decision to terminate her pregnancy. And prior to that, it's like the husband, a woman's, husband or a minor's parents did have some control and some decision-making power there, whether or not, an abortion was going to happen. So Roe and Doe established her right to choose abortion. And we know most recently Roe was overturned. But that right could be limited where the state had a compelling interest. So the state could come in and say it's against the state's interest for you to do this. And then as it gets further in, you see more lawsuits which are about states. The Supreme Court kind of comes down and says you have a right to do this, but you don't have a right for, the state to pay for it or all these kinds of things. And then later on, you start seeing more of a battle about that. Oh, yeah, they also hit me with the abortion health information. They said abortion is a procedure to end a pregnancy. It can be done two different ways. Medication abortion, which uses medicines to end the pregnancy. It is sometimes called a medical abortion, or abortion with pills. Procedural abortion, a procedure to remove the pregnancy from the uterus. It is sometimes called a surgical. So I don't know. I don't know if they are saying I said something wrong in here or not, but I mean, that seems pretty normal.
A lot of times they'll show pictures of, an abortion or something months in. Is there a gray zone? Is there a definite line where maybe someone's at this level of a pregnancy, maybe 3, 4, 5 months in, whatever?
So this is where, because as you walk back and forth between the conservative folks kind of on this side of the street versus these guys, what they would do is they have pamphlets and they show you this kind of shock material that has what an aborted baby looks like. And, if you're looking at that, you're going to be like, yeah, abortion's pretty bad, and I was pretty neutral here. I was just asking people questions. I just wanted to hear their opinion. So I wasn't pushing one thing or another. And reading in the history, I don't know where it is on here, but basically, there are different state rules depending on viability and stuff like that. And it seems a lot of the debate can also center around, how far into the pregnancy it is and things like that. So, that's stuff I still need to read more about. Maybe we'll even do that later. Dan the Man, God, let me see if I cannot get this freaking thing to just come up on screen. I'm gonna have to reinstall this program. So apologize for that. Dan the Man says, not gonna lie, after that Stephen Baskerville interview, I have a hard time sympathizing with pro-life people. I'm pro-life, by the way. Yeah, it's a tough thing, and I even myself, I can't sit here and say I have a strong opinion on it so much, because I mean at the same time it's I get it, working at child support, I get that some people are not ready to have a child and they don't want to deal with it, and there's these different situations. On the other hand, I think like for me, I've always had this kind of easy answer of like, well, I'm kind of taking a maybe even almost a libertarian view, and it's just like, well, hey, it's up to the people if they can consent and that's what they want to do. It's not my business. But if it's maybe more of a personal thing, like, okay, say you were in a relationship with someone and she got pregnant, like, how would you feel knowing that you did that? You might feel really bad, like, man, like my son or daughter is in there, and I'm gonna do this, and it's like, what kind of a guy am I don't know. So like, but I can't say what's right or wrong, but I can understand why people feel some way about it. I have tended to be on the side of giving people the right, and it's kind of up to their own morality to do it, but that's the tough part there. I appreciate you sharing your opinion on that, by the way. So
It is where it becomes wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point where a fetus is viable, and it's viable at about the, 39 months. It's about the 22 month period of time. That's when a fetus.
22. I think he meant 22 weeks. So what is that about? Like, so 22 weeks. He's kind of putting it out there to like 7 times. I don't know, 4. I'm now 5. About 5 months. Maybe 5 times 4. You know what I'm saying? I'm just giving a rough estimate here. But 5 months is kind of far down. I'd like to think viability is maybe a little earlier, like past like the first 3, around the first 3 months. I guess if I imagine it, right? Because then you get into this problem of when does consciousness begin? And whether there's consciousness or not, is that a determining factor in whether or not the baby has a right to live? I do tend to look at the heartbeat, like maybe when the heartbeat happens, that could be viability for me. But let's look at what that is. When does a fetus's heartbeat? At the end of the 4th week of gestation, the heartbeats of the embryo begin. So that's about, 28-day mark right there. Maybe 28 to, even 30, 40 days. The heart whose development starts at the 3rd week of gestation has rapid and irregular contractions. Okay, so that's early. But it should be somewhere around here, right? So that's like way earlier than what he's saying, which is 22 weeks. I don't think he meant 22 days, but so, there's definitely a fight against that.
This is viable. Anytime before that, it's not viable outside the body.
So I'm sorry, did you say 22 months?
I'm saying 22 weeks.
Oh, there it was. Yeah, 22 weeks.
Yeah, 20. It may be more.
I knew it, but I had to ask him just in case. He even says maybe more.
Maybe 26 weeks, but that's when a fetus is viable. Before that, it's not viable outside a woman's body.
Got it.
And I'm sure there's a medical definition of viability, right? So there's what Shaw thinks is viable. I'm just going with the heartbeat. And then there's probably a medically accepted definition of a viable fetus, which might even possibly be what he's going on. I can try to look that up too. Let's see what we find. At what time is a fetus viable? It says by the time you're 24 weeks pregnant. This is Google. This is from the NHS. By the time you're 24 weeks pregnant, the baby has a chance of survival if they are born. Okay, so they're going with viability based off if the baby leaves your, the womb, basically. And that's what determines viability, is if it has a chance of like being a premature born and being able to live. Most babies born before this time cannot live because their lungs and other vital organs are not developed enough. The care that can now be given in baby neonatal units means more and more babies born earlier do survive. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, I've never thought of abortion in that sense. I guess I've thought of it more of in a spiritual sense, and even none of that, I can really say is true. But having a heartbeat start, to me, might even represent a kind of insouling. And, that's not, maybe very rational, but it's just something I assume, and it maybe weighs on me. Other people will say it's right at conception, right? So these folks are going into viability, which gives, a lot more time.
All right, hey, thanks for speaking with me.
Thank you.
So it looks like, we have a nice, symbolic view of both sides here. We got we got the pro-lifers on this side. I talked to some of them. And take your pro-life bullshit and shove it up your dick. All right, and then on the other side, we got...
That was me reading a
I Stand
sign.
With her. We got the pro-choice folks.
Oh, yeah, so this was like... I think this was like a young preacher dude or something that was here. And he was kind of with the conservative crowd. I don't know if it was a specific church. And then the police are standing here, and they have this kind of makeshift barricade bicycle, right? So I don't know if that's a police bike. I don't know if that's an officer. It says event staff, but I think he might be the owner of the bike. And this guy is getting as close as he can, and he's just yelling at this guy and saying, "Go home!" And he was yelling. This guy's voice would not go out, man. Like, he had an ability to just yell for a long ass time. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Did I not know what?
This is a blood-bought world.
A-
He's telling me to go home.
No.
He's the one who's trespassing upon
Yeah.
God's creation.
Yeah.
That this world belongs to God and it belongs to His Son Jesus Christ. That's what we read in so many chapters.
I'd like to interview that guy.
He's gonna give himself arrested.
Yeah.
And that means that
How long has
He
been here?
25 minutes.
he had the camera down just because we hadn't have permission at this point, but so he was trying to I actually took my buddy Mark. I don't know, some of you guys might have seen Mark. So Mark, I kind of have this problem. It's like I love cameras, but I don't have any friends that love cameras. So if I want to do a video like this, it's like I got to just drag one of my buddies over who probably has not very little camera experience. But in the future, if there are ever more protests, I'd like to do something like this again. I do have gimbals now, so maybe it'll be better.
Or so? Yeah, his voice is gonna wear out soon.
Has abortion made society better or worse?
Yo, so this guy was for the pro-life side, and he actually seemed like he was educated and actually has read up on the stuff. You know what I mean?
Clearly worse. Clearly worse. Lack of respect for life is a big problem. And the idea that you can kill a person inside your body by your own will is clearly murder. That's wrong. It's clearly wrong from God's word.
Got it. Is there ever a time where it's okay? Is there a time somewhere in between, conception and when the baby's born where maybe it's still okay to get an abortion?
No, I would say no. There are some special circumstances like tubal pregnancies, ectopic pregnancies, those things. Clearly the baby will not survive, and we need to save the life of the woman. Clearly those are not abortions.
To play the other side here a bit, the main thing is going to be, hey, it's my body, it's my choice. This is an affront towards women's rights. It's putting us 100 years back. When someone comes to you with those protests, how do you respond to them? Or are they wrong for that entirely? There's a ton of people here who are saying that.
Well, I could say that it's clearly wrong in the Word of God, okay? Now, when we talk about the Constitution, it's clearly not discussed or in the Constitution whatsoever. So it was delegated to the people and the states, okay? So the states have weighed in on this. And in California, it is legal by statute. There is nothing any of this is going to do to change what's in California. So what they're arguing for is the ability of people in other states to kill their unborn children.
Got it. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I mean, if this continues, will society be heading in the wrong direction? Is it going to be okay? How important is this?
This is important. Life is important. Life is a gift of God. We cannot snuff it out. It's very important. And it's a clear issue of authority. Who's in charge? God is in charge. If we go to the Constitution, then we say, okay, this Constitution is set up and the states are in charge.
One other thing I'd like to ask, just to share with you, I was a child support officer, so I worked for the Department of Child Support Officer.
Kangle is pimp. Thank you, man. That's back when I had long hair, so it definitely helped to. Oh crap! They're trying to get me to play ads. Skip ads. It just helped to keep the hair out of my face. Then I kind of was like, I think I'll just keep short hair now. But I did like the look. I just thought it was pretty cool. And thanks, man. Trevor says, why do pro-choice advocates ignore men's right to opt out of financial responsibility? Ooh, man. See, you're asking the tough questions right there. That's a good point. You know what I mean? And, I guess a lot of the arguments too, when it comes to I guess women's rights advocates and abortion rights advocates, they'll argue with the conservative folks and say, well, you guys want us to have these babies, but then when the babies are born, you don't want to help us take care of them. And as single moms or whatever, all these kinds of things, you're not going to be here once the child's born. I mean, there is welfare for them, and I don't know. There's a lot. There probably are some things that can happen. The conservative would probably be like, well, you guys should be forming families anyways, and all this stuff outside of marriage is degeneracy to begin with. But yeah, it's just like when it comes to this, I think it's just so easy for the progressive feminist side to ignore a man's sort of problem in this because it benefits them to not have it. So it's just like if they have the baby, they can come after the guy for child support, and they can try to extract resources and use that as a leverage because now they can go somewhere far away, give birth to the baby, make it so he doesn't have a relationship or that it's very hard to have a relationship, and then walk into the child support agency and then at the taxpayer's expense, they'll file all the documents and pursue the man. The reason they don't get much pushback on that particular issue is because conservatives don't care about that. Because if you're a guy, who did that, I guess, unless maybe if you're married, but even if not, like the conservatives are just, they don't want to fight for those guys. They're just like, you're a horrible, terrible person and you're a degenerate and you deserve everything bad that's coming to you. So it kind of enables the progressive feminists, I think, to kind of take advantage of that because they're like, the guy is screwed this way or that way, and it just doesn't really matter. So that's how you get the baby trapping. But yeah, but specifically pro-choice advocates, I guess to answer your question, as I'm saying, is they don't have the incentive to. Like, they're incentivized not to, basically, because they get paid. Possibly they can get more money by not doing that. So that's the unfortunate thing here, and there should be a kind of opt out. It's funny that you bring that up. I actually, someone reached out to me on Instagram and he wanted to kind of do a consultation with me. Wanted to talk to me on a video chat about his child support cases, and I did it, and I don't even care, like, whatever, I'll talk to anybody, and he told me about his situation. I wish I could have recorded it and posted it for you guys. It was a great conversation, but I respect people's privacy, and that's all right. But anyways, he was telling me about his first child, and he was like 21 or something, and she was 19, and he was planning to leave, but he was seeing this girl who he said had kind of been around the block, and she ended up getting pregnant, and at first she might have been like that, but then she didn't want to get an abortion. He ended up leaving, basically, because he's a young guy, didn't know how to deal with it. And yeah, he had no choice in that. There was no matter for that. It's just once that happens, it happens. I've been thinking about putting on the channel, like, if people want consultations, I'll do that. Like, but I don't know if I want to be one of those guys that charges by the hour. I'd probably just do it donation based, like, give nothing if you want, whatever. And if you feel compelled, then donate or not, it's all good. But yeah, that was a kind of an interesting experience. So anyways.
For 5 years. Okay. Had a lot of people come in there, single moms. They couldn't afford to take care of a child on their own. A lot of people come in, they say, hey, you shouldn't have babies if you can't take care of them, this and that. What do you say about the people who, they might come to you and say, hey, listen, I can't afford to have a child right now. I don't want to do adoption. I don't want to go through this. What am I supposed to do? It's tough out there. The economy is bad. And, what's the answer?
I would say you should have thought of that before you went into the bed.
See, that you should. And that's, yeah, like, listen, man, he's not wrong. Yes, that is true. He should have thought of that. You know what I mean? But, man, sometimes the lizard brain takes over for these people. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be held accountable or whatever, but maybe we could have a more evolved system that accommodates some of this stuff. Kind of like Trevor's question sort of seems to suggest a little bit about men having an opt out of this. But the problem is if men opt out, there is now a amount to feed, and if the woman can't do it, it'll then go to the state to do that. And the state doesn't want to extend more money. They'd rather have a guy paying for it through his income instead of him spending it on whatever he wants to spend it on. But this is, the conservative guy answer. But he's an intelligent guy.
The bed is designed for marriage. You went into the bed.
See, there it is. There it is. See, yep, we were just talking about that. You decided to have a kid out of marriage and all that, and frankly, women, I think, who are even in marriages at this point, if they want to get an abortion, they can, regardless of the husband. So I get what he's saying, but marriage, I don't think necessarily protects you from that. I mean, but if you're married, you're probably just more willing to have that child,
And that is a risk of sexual activity. Don't come to me now and say you have a problem and want to kill the result of that activity. That activity is beautiful in marriage, designed by God. And knowingly you went outside and did that, and you're going to have to deal with the results. And dealing with the results is not murder. It's not a reason for murder.
Not once in the Christian Bible.
Okay, yeah, so I'm sorry to laugh. Yeah, this lady right here was pissed, and she kind of has the look a little bit, she's got the blue hair and stuff, and I wanted to get this on camera because it was pretty contentious. I did go over and talk to her a little bit later when she was calm, just to get her. I didn't want to just portray her as this angry, yelling woman, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now. I did want to give her a chance to kind of speak a little bit more on it. So we did do that later. Dan the Man says, you should have asked him, what if she was married but still wants to abort? Yeah, and I wish I would have. It's something I gotta, sometimes that kind of question comes to you, like when you're shampooing your hair in the shower, like a week later, and you're like, oh damn, why didn't I do that? But yeah, it would have been a good question. My guess is he probably would have said something like, that's not biblical, and would possibly say how, like, in a marriage where these two folks submit and worship God, that it would not make sense for them to do that, and in a married thing it'd probably be less likely. That's my guess of what he would have said. I'm trying to think like what the conservative guy answer for that would have been. And I think at that point they'd still, because the question is about like I think he still would not be for letting the guy opt out, even if the guy tried to stop her. He just wouldn't do that. He'd be like, no, well, he still has to take care of this child because the child has a right or whatever,
Does it say that anyone's going to hell?
Can I show you?
No, you can't.
So you're saying it's not there, and I'm not allowed to show you?
Yeah, and just real quick, yeah. So she's saying there's nowhere in the biblical, in the Bible, in the scripture that says anything about you're going to hell if you get an abortion. And again, he's got the shock value material right here in his hand. So if you look at, oh crap, you can't see it because it's behind the screen. Damn it. Well, you can sort of see it, but yeah, these are like the images of the aborted baby. So he's going for the shock value.
It's not.
You're that confident.
It says do not fear 365 times.
I can show you where it says that, but you're not even willing to see.
Because I don't want to talk to you. You guys.
I'm sorry I laugh. It's not funny. It's just, yeah. I mean, it'd be nice if he could just, pop out the verses and she can be like, all right, yeah, it says it or not.
Out here because no, we have to. No, we did. No, you don't.
I do wonder now. I'm gonna look that up if it does say that in the Bible anywhere specific. Just that would be interesting to know. Does the Bible say anywhere that abortion is wrong? Let's see. Come on. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to try another way. Bible verses about abortion. Even better. I want to go straight to the verses. And we'll see what we find here. This is just a random website. I don't know who said this or who. Oh, damn it. Who said it and who didn't. Oh, man. All right. I'm taking the ad block off for this. All right. So, okay, we got Exodus, that's Old Testament. You shall not murder. Okay, so that depends on being able to label this on murder. But let's see if we can get into some of the newer. So we got Proverbs. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are in abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. Okay, so I'm thinking they're probably going with that. A heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. Psalm says, For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you. When I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. So, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know if it directly says it in here, but it kind of says it. I mean, I don't know. I guess it is kind of subject to interpretation. There's wiggle room here. What do you guys think? Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. Now, maybe that speaks more about prophets. Let's see this big long one in Romans. And since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done. They were filled with all manner of unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, malice. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, maliciousness. They are gossips, slanderers, haters of God, insolent, haughty, boastful, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, foolish, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Though they know God's righteous decree that those who practice such things deserve to die, they not only do them but give approval. This one's gonna be a little bit of a stretch. It's all right. Trevor says, I don't think there is any specific in the Bible about abortion. Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen there, it looks like it takes maybe a layer or two of unpacking to kind of get to that conclusion, if I had to be charitable. Trevor says, theoretical situation. There is no child support, no welfare, no de facto, like no fault, no marriage. Do you mean like no fault marriage? It's all right, no marriage. How would women's behavior change towards finding a mate? Will they prioritize commitment over look status? I think if we look at history, if there's no support network there for a woman, they will probably look for commitment, and not just commitment, but in approval from their overall tribe and clans people about who they marry and procreate with. Because if she becomes barefoot and pregnant out here, let's say you live in a village or a town that's near the Silk Road, and we got a caravan passing through with a bunch of travelers and trade merchants, and somehow your daughter runs off and gets pregnant somehow through whatever, however that happens. And, she's pregnant. You now got another mouth to feed with some stranger's kid. He goes down onto the Silk Road. He's gone, man. He's going towards, all these different places now. He ain't coming back. You got a real problem here, and it's like, I don't know. I think that would be a real issue. It would be a real shame. It'd be harder to probably get her married, possibly. Who's going to want to take care of this kid? Maybe at best, this kid gets, the kid is illegitimate. The kid has no inheritance rights. Probably gets put up for, maybe take that kid over to the temple and say, listen, man, there might be a future here for this child. Or maybe, the child can, I don't know, end up in the military or some type of thing like that. It would probably be pretty tough, so unless you have means to take care of that, I think a woman would want to pair off with someone, with the husband, and, be able to avail herself of extended family support. Yeah, so definitely. But I Trevor, what you point out is true, is this the fact that the state has kind of intruded itself to kind of play the husband, to play daddy a little bit, to come in and save the day. So there's less incentive to kind of be in that makes the family to the woman kind of feel more oppressive to them, since there are options now. Maybe they're not the best options, but there are.
Really? How many women do you have over there, and how many of them have a mic?
It doesn't matter.
It does.
Any man you have
It
to
does, because
count.
if you want to talk for women, let the women speak. But you can't, because you guys have this idea in your head that women are to be subservient and shut up and listen to the man. That's what it says in the Bible, jackass.
I think it definitely tells the wife to submit to the husband. And, you know, I guess you can even argue that it doesn't say women must submit. Specifically, it's just the wife submitting to husband, which becomes a separate status once you enter into the marriage and consent to it. But, yeah, it does say that in there, you know, to some extent. I mean, you know, she's not wrong.
I'm not treating you in that way.
That's what it says in the Bible.
I'm having a genuine conversation with you. And you're having a genuine conversation.
I think he was trying to have a genuine conversation with her. I got to be charitable here. So, you know, she's definitely worked up.
With me as well.
I forgot to put the mic back to her. That was my mistake.
Oh, I'm trying to point that you're wrong in this one. I'm not.
I didn't even talk to these people. Well, I did talk to them later. But at this moment, I hadn't like really introduced myself. I just went in there and Mark had the cam and they were just cool with me recording them because, you know, it was kind of going down. And I think that added to the stakes of the conversation because they're like, oh, this is on camera now, you know.
I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to warn you.
You know what? That's bullshit.
That's what they do.
See, yeah, this is the shock value. You know, I might skip over this. I just, you know, YouTube. I did get a close-up of this.
So what? I don't care.
Oh, yeah, let's just move in. There we go.
That
Sorry
is an
about that.
offense of aborting, killing her child or not.
Discuss what you want to discuss, but we got to do it out of the street, okay?
Cops got involved.
You guys don't do that. You guys just want the kid to be born. And then after that, you guys don't give a shit. Because if you did, where's all the other fucking kids that you've helped? Where's all the kids that you saved? Shut up.
Man, you know, I got to say, like, this may not have been the best put together video. I admit that. But I genuinely, like, enjoyed making this video when I made the video a couple of years ago. And it's like, I wish there would, you know, because I live in the capital city. There aren't protests like this all the time. But if there were more things like this, I would like to get out there and do kind of interview style stuff. It is fun. Hey, Shadrach says, Daddy State. Robert, welcome in, bro. We're just having a discussion about abortion and this video here from a protest in Sacramento a few years ago when they were getting rid of Roe v. Wade. Dan the Man says, Jeremiah 1:5 is the closest verse that I know that many pro-life people cite as the reason for being pro-life. You know what? I'm just going to look that up just so if any of us folks aren't sure what that is, like myself. Jeremiah 1-5. Go with the Bible Gateway. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I actually read that before. That was this one. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as prophet to nations. Again, I mean, it does kind of concern the prophethood, but yeah, okay. So that sounds like that's the one they kind of point to the most. So let's go and get back to this.
That is the best thing you got, is shut up. I'm telling you, what questions you got?
My name's Shaw, and I just wanted to ask you just a simple question. So, has abortion made society better or worse? Has it been an advance or the opposite?
Well, honestly speaking, over the 49 years, we have, like, let's say if you look from the science, I'm a Christian, I believe in God. He is the only one true God. But if you look from a science standpoint of view, 49 years of data shows that any woman that abort, depression strikes in her life that she cannot even control. It shows that also that depression always leads to a massive suicidal thoughts. Some even attempt. In order for them not to kill themselves, a lot of them resort to substances in order for this mess to come down on the inside. So over 49 years, it shows that if a woman does this to her own child, she fully understands that the child has a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. So if she does this, guilt.
So let me ask you, you know, that lady was yelling at you at the top of her lungs for a good, I look like a good 5 minutes at least, 10 minutes maybe. And I'm just wondering, why do you think she's so angry with you or with the situation? What is it that maybe you think she's not under?
Man, some of these questions were off the cuff, but I'm glad I asked them that. Shadrach says Sky Daddy. Well, it's Daddy State or Sky Daddy.
Standing right, what is it about it?
It's not that she's just not willing to accept it. That's it. She does fully understand that if a body has a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs, it's a body. It looks like a human being. And if it moves within a womb, it proves that there's life, actual life. But now, if she's gonna understand, well, not that understand, if she's gonna accept the position that it's a real human being, and
Damn, I forgot about the music. Hopefully that doesn't screw me over. But, you know, I don't know. This has been on my channel for a while. It's probably fine.
stop dehumanizing the child within, then it's murder. And that is very, very hard to accept.
You know, it seems to be an issue of control. I heard you say that.
Look at this Planned Parenthood bus in the background. Like, they got this whole thing. It seems to be kind of pride infused, say abortion. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but it's just like, you know, if you're a woman in society, you know, like this is, and I'm not trying to take a side here. Again, I'm a fencer myself, and hell, you know, I've seen enough child support cases to think, man, you know, maybe I don't know, you know, maybe some dude's butts were say, we saw Fresh on Fresh and Fit. That guy is, you know, I think he's religious to some extent, but he's probably grateful that, you know, Daisy aborted the child that was, you know, allegedly his, and that problem went away for him. Now, was that the right thing to do? Does he have guilt associated with that? Possibly. But yeah, again, you're a young woman, you're confronted. Like, this to me is just a symbol of the propaganda, right? Like, and the one thing I really notice is, like, these guys have a lot of money. I mean, it is California, but they got the whole stage in the background. They got the music playing. They got the speakers coming in. They even had the politicians coming in on their side to speak on the stage. They have kind of the state apparatus. They got the money. And then there's these folks on this side, and they just got their pamphlets and stuff. I don't know, it's just an interesting contrast. So you're a young woman growing up. You are inundated with this kind of, I don't know, I don't want to call it marketing, but yeah, you can basically marketing.
Word earlier, control. And, you know, a lot about it is just in terms of their mental state after the abortion. But with them, when I think about control, I see it's about, hey, it's our bodies. We don't want anybody controlling what we do with our bodies. We want to have our choice to be able to do that. We don't want to be limited. We don't want to feel like men or whoever are controlling us. What do you say to that grievance? How is that solved to where both sides win? Is there a solution here?
Dude, honestly speaking, I'm extremely my body, my choice. Extremely. Yes, it's everybody's body. Now, a woman that is not pregnant is her body. It's her choice to get pregnant or not. A lot of women, they pass by and says they blame men as if we are at fault in getting them pregnant. It takes 2 to mingle, right? It takes 2. If it takes 1, then it's rape. That is wrong. That is wrong. Now, my body, my choice. But dude, girls, women, dear people, do not ever use your body to kill. Do not ever use your body to steal. Do not ever use your body to harm somebody else. Use your body to help. If you see somebody in need, help them. Use your body to help them. Why? Because the good choices will empower us. But the negative choices, the sinful decisions are meant to destroy us.
You know,
your choice.
Got it. So there's one more thing, you know.
So, you know, that kind of also shows, like, why, like, I don't know, like, when I hear that and you kind of hear opinions like that, or like Michael Knowles' opinion, you can almost see why they can just never give in to men's rights. Like what Trevor asked earlier, like, they just can't give in to a guy being able to opt out. Like, they have to maintain that, well, you made a choice to do this, it's your responsibility. If it was up to them, the women couldn't abort at all, you know, and then they would take that away. Well, you made the choice to do that, so be it. I don't ever really see those guys coming to this middle ground of saying, well, you know, the women are empowered to do this. We're not able to change the law because they got half the vote. We should make it at least more navigable for the men so that there's a little bit more, you know, balance here between the sexes when they're dealing with each other. Men need a little bit more negotiating leverage to match women's in some sense. But they just can't do that, because the minute they give into that or let go of that, then it's like they lost, or they lost again. Great. They gave into what they would call degeneracy, and now we've enabled them more. But you know, somehow it got to this point and they weren't able to stop it. I mean, there was a recent victory for them with Roe v. Wade, but I think that's still largely ineffective, you know. Shadrach says, all they got, Sky Daddy is going to get you. Yeah, you know, and look, again, I'm a man who respects and appreciates religion, but when you're talking to like that woman who's screaming at him and you're trying to convince them, if what your argument boils down to is that religion, and they're not, you know, they're free out here. You're free in America, right? So it's just like it just ain't enough. It's just not enough for them. You gotta, you know, they ain't stopping the damn thing. So far, not, you know. Yeah.
She was.
I'd say the only way they're successful in doing that is like you'd have to have a religious revival first, right? Like they'd have to get that to happen. Your God is not their God. Yeah, when that's what they're gonna say, or it is at this point American, right? You can pursue your own happiness as long as it doesn't infringe on anybody else's right or ability to pursue happiness for themselves. And regardless of your thoughts on religion, this is kind of why I accept that a secular state is necessary here. There has to be a secular state in order, because everybody's living here in one country, and you got people from all these different beliefs, and some who are atheists or whatever their way of living is, and they all got to follow the rule. It's like you can worship the way you want to, but you can't stop anybody else's freedom or infringe on their rights. And it's like, I don't know, like if one or other religion had it their way, I just don't see that happening. And if it did happen, I don't know. I think it at this point be almost fundamentally un-American. So it's like, I tend to have an opinion is you got to work within the secular law in order to kind of make this more fair for men. But you know, when you got tradcon folks, I guess you can say they can't do that. It's like they have to have these other wins of putting their religion back into an authoritative place before they even begin to get to fixing the problem for men at all. So it's like they're not much help. Yep, and that ain't happening. Tradcons can never blame women for their own actions and only blame men, which is kind of sad. Yeah, that's definitely the grievance. I wanted to make a video on this. I saw this on like Tuesday or Wednesday, and my talking was a lot more challenging, but tomorrow I got off, and I'm going to hopefully be able to put some standalone videos. But Michael Knowles, I want to do a video on that draft bill that just passed the House, and it includes women for registering for selective service. And Michael Knowles comes out on Twitter, and he's just like, those psycho Dems are trying to get your daughters drafted. You know what I mean? And it's just like that right there is just why, like, it's just never, like that him saying that, like, gets rid of the whole, like, he just, that's like, it's like feminism never happened to him. You know what I mean? And it's like, listen, they have the vote, they have these things, then they should, it only makes sense if it's going to be an equality first type thing for them to be able to also have that responsibility and duty. But it's like, he can't let that happen, or it's yet another mark against what he believes in. It's another loss, even if it means men have to suffer more. Shadrach, it isn't 1200 AD anymore. God is dead and no one cares. Deal with it. Shadrach, it seems like you are a Nietzschean man here. You probably have your copy of, oh damn, it ain't working. You probably have your copy of the Genealogy of Morality close to you at hand. I think he was the one who said God is dead. That's a good book. That's another thing maybe we can discuss on stream sometimes. But yeah, so anyways, well, we'll go back there. Let's just finish this one.
Kind of passionate talking about foster care. Have you ever done in foster care? What about the women? How many kids have you saved in terms of women, children who are born and maybe they don't have the resources to survive, or they're from a poor background? I was a child support officer for 5 years at the Department of Child Support, so I saw a lot of foster care cases. I saw a lot of that stuff. What is the answer for a single mother who maybe dad's gone, or she doesn't know who dad is, or he's not in the life? She doesn't have enough money. She doesn't think she can take care of a child. What's the answer for her? What is she going to do? What do you say to them to address that grievance of her?
Well, see, the thing is, our political side is messed up. I understand this. So like as a result, I'm not gonna get into that. But the answer to that, let's say if a woman has a baby in her womb, and she comes to Planned Parenthood, because we also stand at Planned Parenthood. And yes, I do tell to women with my wife as well that
Oh yeah, real quick. He said like they stand at Planned Parenthood. So like what they actually do is some of these folks, what they'll do is they'll stand right outside the Planned Parenthood, kind of on the sidewalk out there, and what they will do is wait for people to kind of come in. And they will basically try to intercept the people before, like the woman before she goes into the Planned Parenthood. And, you know, they kind of have a way of like trying to tug at their heartstrings. Basically what their goal is to convince the woman to not go through with the abortion. So they're out here on the sidewalk and they'd get in arguments all the time. I did get invited out to go to the Planned Parenthood to get some footage. I just never did. I wonder if they still do this. That might be an interesting video to do. But yeah, so, you know, they'd go out there and like, you know what, they start, you know, praying for them and trying to give them other alternatives and trying to, you know, help other organizations can help them and just convince them not to, and all these kinds of things. So that's what he meant by that.
Don't strike the child. If you cannot afford to keep the child, if you cannot, you know, there's plenty of reasons why you want to get rid of the child. Don't strike the child. Allow birth to the child. Allow us to take the child. We will raise your child for you. And
now remember, you know, they raise the child for you. That, and what that means, you know, is the rest of the community does have to come together to provide for that child. And you know, that's gonna be part of the cost. But, and you know, do I think that's bad? No. I mean, I think what he's saying is good fundamentally, but the way this kind of works is that like you're, you know, a random person who is not involved in this and you've managed to be good and stay out of these things, but you do end up having to open up your wallet a little bit to do this. Robert Spencer says, I'm a complete atheist and I'm pro-life. That's actually interesting, you know, because I think a lot of atheists that I guess you could say meet are more pro-choice. I would be interested in hearing your rationale, or well, you know, what your beliefs are, or why you believe that. It's never right to unlife. So, oh, there it is, to unlife someone. Yeah, I mean, hey, I hear that. You know what I mean? I think and this isn't about me challenging. I just think it's an interesting philosophical question. I think what comes next after that is, okay, well, when does life start, or when does consciousness begin? And if there's no consciousness, then is it okay? Is it just a clump of cells? Is it when it's viable? Is it okay to take a morning after pill? Things like that. Is it at conception? They would probably try to challenge on you or probe on you a bit of when a life begins, which I guess you'd probably say conception. And, you know, I can't argue with that. I mean, yeah, I mean, that starts to be a living organism at that point. But that would be an interesting thing. And I guess I like this discussion about consciousness, because I like hearing people's theories about it. And then the question comes in, like, when does consciousness begin? Or is it always there? Or, you know, that kind of stuff. Or if that's something you guys find interesting in this discussion.
Anytime you want it back, it's your child. I just want to help you. I just want to help your child and you, if you think you are if you're in this circumstances. In a year you want your child back, it might hurt, but hey, hopefully we'll develop some kind of friendship where we'll continue.
Anything else you'd like to share?
He does seem like he's describing a relatively rosy program where, yeah, we're going to help take care of the child, and then when you're better on your feet, you can get the child back or something like that. But, you know, it doesn't always seem to be that way. And it's like, for the most part, it's hard to do that because the parents at a certain point have to give up their parental rights. Then they're not legally the parents anymore. And there's all these legal wiry things that kind of might happen in between that process to where they can't get their kid back, or it's really hard, or it's unfortunately not an ideal situation. Foster care is very tough. You know what I mean? It's good that exists. Very good that exists. You know, that needs to be there. But you know, I wish it can be as easy as what he's saying. Robert Spencer says, if you don't know, how do you make the decision? That's a really good point. Yeah, if you can't be sure about it, then who are you to say it's one thing or another, right? So it could be the other way. I feel like this kind of brings up an interesting philosophical conundrum when you think about it. What would that be similar to? It's almost like, like, you know, people debate the existence of God, and they're like, well, if you don't, just because there's no evidence, like maybe you can't prove that it doesn't exist doesn't mean it does exist or something like that. But maybe this is a different.
Anything at all?
And from a practical standpoint, our population is decreasing. Yes. Okay. So this is like keeping the birth rate stuff in mind. That's an interesting thing. If the population is decreasing and they want to incentivize the birth rate, then, you know, maybe there should be more money allocated for this kind of thing to help them take care of it. But I don't know. I don't even know if we could afford that. Or see, the conservative, I don't know if they would like that. They might do that. I think they would only do that if you could at the same time outlaw abortion. Like, all right, let's outlaw abortion and then say we're going to help take care of them. But then at that point, it's like, what does that program look like, you know?
Dude, honestly speaking, deep down from the inside, the only life worth living is obeying the commandments of God. Why? Because we live in his love. That's it.
I noticed you earlier kind of talking.
Okay, yeah. So, okay. I did go talk to her right after this. So we'll see what she said. We got his point of view. And now I'm back across the street, and she was a little calmer. And we're going to see what she has to say.
To them.
Yeah. I might have said a few things that might have been wrong because I was mad, so.
Oh, it's okay.
Fine.
You know, they just asked a question across the street. I kind of wish you guys had a mic and a speaker to talk back, but.
Oh, look.
Oh, there
they too got a mic and a speaker.
you go. But they asked, what is the difference between a fetus and a baby? What would you answer them?
A baby is something that can take a breath on the outside of the womb, and a fetus cannot, period. But also, I'm not going to take much from the dude in all black, because the last Women's March, he assaulted a woman just down the street here.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I really got to freaking figure out when these women's marches are out here and all these other marches, because I got to get down there, and maybe if I can get Mark out too. Oh, man, I hate to keep dragging him out, and see if we can get some more interviews going, because it is fun to do. I mean, I like it. It's just fun for me. But, yeah, she started coming with this, and then I didn't know, you know.
It's because he was doing what they're doing now, because they have their little cameras on him and shit.
Are you talking about the guy with the microphone?
No, the guy over here. The one that was speaking in all black, the African-American gentleman. Yeah, well, the last Women's March where they did the drive around, he got too close to one of the women. She asked him to leave. Yeah. He wouldn't, and so she pushed him, and he pushed her back and slapped her.
It sounds like what she said is that the guy was there and that she pushed him first, and then he pushed her back. And it does sound like that the quote-unquote victim in the situation was the initial person who put hands on the guy. Now, maybe he could have been all up in her space. I don't know. But this is just the account that she's given us. But, you know, okay, this is a little off topic. That's definitely going to be a police matter. And there were police on the scene. So maybe at that last Women's March, the police were not patrolling heavy.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I really don't give a shit what he has to say, because they're not here for conversation. They're here to only further their perspective and their confirmation-biased research. That's it.
You know, I've been asking people the same question, kind of a simple one.
It sounds a little like, listen, Rob, definitely a case can be made for self-defense based off the testimony we just heard. So, you know, I wasn't there.
Has abortion made society better or worse?
I don't think it really has a weighted system on it. They're over there speaking about children and all them being born. I adopted a drug-addicted baby from birth, so I am part of the people.
You know, and I'll be honest, man. Like, I'm not someone to glorify adoption, especially as a guy. If you got all your ducks in a row, adopting can be a huge problem. But I do respect people who do that, and I do respect her for that. If she's, helping kids out here and stuff.
People that can speak on the crap that they're talking about. If you allow abortion to be overturned, the Roe v. Wade, you're going to have a lot more babies born like my son.
So, one thing, and after I saw you talking with the guys over there, I talked to one of them, and he had a pamphlet in his hand, and it has a lot of, very graphic pictures.
Those pictures have also been debunked already, and we've pointed that out to them, and they don't.
Of the fetuses?
Yeah, the pictures that they have are not, they're not medically correct. So.
Okay, because, I guess when I think of abortion, I don't immediately call to mind those pictures, but then sometimes when I'm faced with them, I'm like, oh, that does look really bad, and I know it's a kind of shock and awe thing or sort of, but is there a definite line here, whether it's maybe 4 months in, 6 months in, where it starts to become abortion is bad or it's really harming a living thing or something?
To me, it's between that person and their doctor. I'm not going to sit here and give them, I'm not going to judge them for a choice that they had to make.
I kind of get what she's saying, but at the same time, when it comes to the formation of these laws, those laws are going to dictate what a doctor can do and what that patient, doctor relationship is going to look like and what course of action is going to happen. I guess I'm just trying to see if there's any gray area here for people, because then if they say, well, okay, this before this time or that time, then you can kind of get into some of those other bigger questions, like why is it this time, or why not, I don't know, just to hear. But she kind of took that route with the answer.
I've had 2 miscarriages, and some of the legislation that's going on, I would get more jail time instead of a rapist because my body lost a child. So it's really kind of, it's not even that they're using common sense, it's just they want their narrative and their narrative only.
Is there anything else you'd like to share, maybe what these guys got wrong, or anything you think people should know about this that might help them understand?
Well, one thing that they got wrong is there's only men speaking. There's women in their little stuff, but not one.
So I want to say, when she told me that, I did go back over to the other side to find a woman to interview her. Because, I was like, yeah, she's right. I guess I don't hear any women on the microphones. But, it could be like a trad wife kind of deal. Maybe it's not becoming of them to sit here with the microphone and be loud about it, unlike the feminists on the other side. But I did circle back around. We're going to see that I tried to find a woman's voice there. Robert Spencer says, LOL, it so sucks. This is a quote. It so sucks to be born a drug addict. I'd rather be dead. Probably no baby ever. Man, that sounds like one heck of a situation.
One woman has gotten on the microphone and spoke, and I wonder why that is.
That is true. I guess I'm looking at right now. I see there's an older lady, there is a younger one. Yeah, well, that's interesting. Why do you think that is?
What?
That just people don't agree with it and they're just not hearing ladies?
It's their right to believe what they want, and they feel that they're right, and we feel that we are right. But also...
See, and that's the thing I can agree with. I want to live in a society where people are free to believe in what they want. Now, I also want to live in a society where a person can't force their beliefs on you. And I think the founding fathers understood this to some extent, and this is why they created the political system to pit faction against faction, in the sense that, people do want to push their beliefs, but then we have a political system that allows pushback on that in a way that's peaceful, supposed to be anyways. And that's just the system we got set up. So, but it's supposed to be a good thing.
Our uteruses are being, legislated. Their penises are not. So,
I mean, you could say there's a lot of legislation surrounding what a man does with his sexuality, especially in terms of child support and custody and then all these kinds of family law things. So men are very much legislated. People are just well, once you make the decision and it's out of your body and it's in her hands, it's not up to you anymore. But there's an argument to be made. Well, if that happens, and if you are a pro-choicer and you there can be some negotiation there, but it's just like, it is a hard sell. You could compel her to want to get an abortion. It's in her body. But then it's just like, well, too bad, whatever I want to do, you're still going to be responsible, and there's no opt-out for you. So, I mean, I think men are very much legislated into this.
If it was the other way around, would they want us on their side?
All right, well, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you a lot. So I saw your sign.
Okay, yeah, so this is the young woman from the conservative side. And I went and I talked to her just because, you know, I don't know. I heard what the other woman said. I'm like, maybe I should go speak to actual woman on that side and see what they think. She was young, I guess, so it's just like, man, you know, I don't know, maybe her views will change. Klaus says, yeah, I've read that alcohol abuse of the mother gives permanent damage to the child, so that's a hard one. Yeah, I think that's very much true. Robert Spencer says child support is penis legislation. Sorry, it just sounds funny to say that. Would you rather be unalive or mentally deficient, Klaus? Ooh, that's a tough question right there. That's a tough question. Let's go on. Let's see what she has to say.
It says, my liberation will not be bought with the blood of our children. So I noticed that you're kind of to use this word, minority.
You know, and she consented to the interview, and she had her family here with her. So that's what made me feel okay to talk to her, that they were okay with it. And, you know, I'm not sitting here trying to get gotcha questions for people. I'm just trying to, I'm not trying to win a debate. I'm just trying to ask questions and just kind of understand their perspective a bit.
Over here, in the sense that you're a young woman, you know, and you're pro-life. So I just had to come talk to you because I think your opinion is going to be really interesting for people to hear. So just off the top, I want to ask, what are your views on abortion? And then I'll ask you some other questions.
Sure. So I believe that abortion is murder. I believe that life begins at conception. So my mom fought really hard for all three of us to get here. We're triplets.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. Hey, could you imagine thinking about getting an abortion and there's like, all right, I got 3 fetuses in me, not just 1. I mean, I guess it's all the same, but, you know, still, like, there's 3 times more of the, like, pressure, right? Of like, man, there's 3 babies right here. You know what I mean?
And it took 8 years for her to get pregnant. And
Wow, 8 years.
All she wanted since she was a young woman was to be a mama, and that's my desire as well. And so I could not imagine not fighting, because she went through IVF, so all the drugs and all of the injections, and so she was told that if she put 8 embryos in her belly, if more than 3 stuck, then she would have to terminate the other 5, and she
Oh my God. Okay, so I forgot about this part. So she did IVF, so mom was having fertility issues. And which is kind of interesting to think about too. I feel like there's an opposite side argument here. Like there's abortion's one thing, because medical technology has advanced to a point where they can, I guess, for the most part, do this while, you know, not, I don't know if it causes harm to the woman's body or not. But then on the other side, it's like, listen, if you can't get pregnant, why not just say, well, if God won't allow you to get pregnant the natural way, would it not also be against the religious beliefs to then use IVF and have 8 embryos put into you? And it's like, it's a very unnatural way of being impregnated. Like, isn't that also probably not something that, you know, it's almost like playing God in a way, or trying to subvert God's will. God has kind of said, okay, listen, at this point, it's not a good idea, possibly, or nature says that, for you to get pregnant, and maybe we're just not going to do that for you. It's just not going to be it for you. But instead, you use scientific technology in order to manipulate this. On the back end of that's abortion, right? Which is like, well, okay, you know, in that way you are kind of going against, you know, nature and God, because you are fertile, but then you get the abortion. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting thing to think about. Robert Spencer says, you're doing great. An interview is objective. Debate is opinion. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'd love to get some more of these out just because they're fun to do.
refused to put more than 3, but instead she had faith, and she said that.
I hope that it's things are coming in. I don't know why. I'm looking at my restream and it seems to be paused. Oh dear God. I hope I'm such a dummy. I just reloaded it. I hope you guys can still see me. I just want to double check. Can you guys still hear and see the stream? Just to make sure. It was like paused on the screen. Oh, I'm such a dummy. The reason it was paused on Restream is because there's a lag there, and I was talking, and when I looked at it, I was like, why isn't it moving? Klaus says, I don't think anybody could answer the question. At least I have no idea how to decide. Yeah. It was like paused on the screen. Okay, it's still coming in. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure. Perfect, thank you. I tripped myself out. Anyways, yeah, I just think it's interesting. It's like sometimes medical technology advancements are okay, but on other things, it's not. You know what? Let's look that up right now. Let's look up if we can find real quick on Google. What is the church's opinion about IVF? Let's just see if there's anything. While many religious groups in the U.S. have no specific prohibition to the procedure, the Catholic Church clearly opposes it. But many Catholic couples turn to IVF despite their church's teaching. The Catholic Church has two main objections to IVF. That's from NPR. You know, that might not be the most religious source for, them. I don't want to begotten, not made. A Catholic view of, okay, maybe this is just a little bit more, I don't know, fair. Let's just go straight to the source. Ooh, that's a lot of church teaching. In vitro. One reproductive technology which the church has clearly and unequivocally judged to be immoral is in vitro fertilization, or IVF. Well, this is kind of straight to the point here. Unfortunately, most Catholics are not aware of the church's teaching, do not know that IVF is immoral, and some have used it in attempting to have children. If a couple is unaware that the procedure is immoral, they are not subjectively guilty of sin. Children conceived through this procedure are children of God and are loved by their parents. Because, once they're as they should be, like all children, regardless of the circumstances of their conception and birth, they should be loved, cherished, and cared for. It seems like they're against it, but there is this kind of look the other way policy. It's what it kind of seems like. Well, once it's here, it's here. Okay, everything, The immorality of conceiving children through IVF can be difficult to understand and accept because the man and woman involved are usually married and trying to overcome a medical problem in their marriage. Yet the procedure does violence to human dignity and to the Marriage Act and should be avoided. But why exactly is IVF immoral? Sorry to go on this huge aside. I'm just curious. In vitro fertilization brings about new life in a petri dish. Children engendered through IVF are sometimes known as test tube babies. Several eggs are aspirated from the woman's ovary after she has taken a fertility drug, which causes a number of eggs to mature at the same time. Semen is collected from the man, usually through masturbation. I think that's already frowned upon. The egg and sperm are ultimately joined in a glass dish, where conception takes place and the new life is allowed to develop for several days. In the simplest case, embryos are then transferred to the mother's womb in the hope that one will survive to term. Obviously, IVF eliminates the Marriage Act as the means of achieving pregnancy instead of helping it achieve this natural end. The new life is not engendered through an act of love between husband and wife, but by a laboratory procedure performed by doctors and technicians. Husband and wife are merely sources for raw materials, egg and sperm, which are later manipulated by a technician to cause the sperm to fertilize the egg. Not infrequently, donor eggs. Oh, okay, so they definitely don't like donor eggs or sperm are used. This means that the genetic father or mother of the child could well be someone from outside the marriage. This can create a confusing situation for the child later when he or she learns that one parent raising him is not her actually the biological parent. I like how this matters to them when it comes to IVF, but if a guy gets cheated on or whatever, I do wish maybe they'd be fighting for that a little bit more, but whatever. We'll read one more paragraph and then go back. In fact, the identity of the donor, whether of egg or sperm, may never be known, depriving the child of an awareness of his or her own lineage. This can mean a lack of knowledge of health problems or dispositions toward health problems which could be inherited. Could lead to half-brothers and sisters marrying one another because neither knew that the sperm which engendered their lives came from the same donor. All right, well, that's interesting. I mean, that's interesting. Oh, hold on, we got some comments here. Robert says Ben Shapiro came out against IVF embryos being canceled. So he came out against IVF embryos. How is it possible to fix that? The ultimate result is more people. Sorry, I guess I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. Perhaps I'm just kind of missing it, but yes. How on earth does it eliminate the Marriage Act? That's an interesting thing. I never actually looked at what the church believes about IVF. It is kind of like a front end situation of this problem, you know, I guess as far as abortion goes.
I believe that these three will live, and we all survived, and so I can't imagine not standing on any other viewpoint.
So it sounds like this personal experience really helped shape your views, you know. But when I look around here, the signs I read, it seems like the kind of issue that the other side really seems to be putting up is women's rights over their bodies, their ability to make a choice, and, you know, anything that I guess you can say threatens the right to abortion, as they would say, would be an affront towards women's rights in general. Do you think that's an issue at all for you? I mean, is there anywhere where you're like, hey, you know, I do want to at least have the choice, even though I don't believe in doing this myself? Or how do you respond to them? You know, where are they wrong?
That's a good question. I would say, I'm gonna have you to repeat the question. Is that okay? Okay, sorry.
Well, I just mean, you know, like, it seems what a lot of these ladies out here are fighting for are their, as they would say, rights to make their own choice. They don't want, you know, the government or the patriarchy or whoever saying, hey, you can't do this, and limiting their right to make a decision for what they would say is their own body, right? And then you as a young lady, you know, growing up here, I'm just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on that? Are they wrong? Are they right about that? Would you rather there be a choice, but people, you know, believe in it or not?
Sure, I believe that everybody has a choice to make whatever decision they want. As humans, we all can make choices. Whether they're good or bad is the question. So I would say you can make whatever choice you like. I won't agree with it. So I will say that there is right and wrong. There is a very fair distinction between good and evil, and I find this evil. I can sympathize with them, though. Like, I can imagine, you know, our world is so broken, but I don't think that babies have to be because of that.
Got it. Is there ever a time, is there like a gray zone? You know, if it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, is it okay? Is 6 months too far out? Is there ever a gray zone, or is it from when there's conception, it's wrong no matter what?
She did answer that before, so I kind of asked her a question twice.
I think Abraham Lincoln, maybe you know the quote better than I do, or you could explain better, but Abraham Lincoln, in regards to racism, he said if there's a man, as soon as you meet a man whiter than you or lighter skinned than you, then you are to be in subjection and in servitude to him. So if we have these lines other than truth, then I think that that's wrong, and it doesn't, just because a baby is unwanted doesn't make it less of a human. Just because a man is darker skinned than another doesn't make him less of a man or a human.
Okay, anything else you'd like to share the folks need to know?
I would say I made these little things and I passed them out. They're little, I don't knit, but I crochet, so it's close enough, but it's, yeah, I'll show you this one. So I believe that God made us fearfully and wonderfully, and so he knit us together very intentionally in our mother's wombs. So that's just a reminder that even if you don't believe it for the baby inside of you, that you would believe that for yourself, that you are made fearfully and wonderfully and for a purpose, and God has a plan for you.
So that sounds like one of those Bible verses we read earlier, the wonderfully part.
Liberation isn't bought through the blood of children, it's bought through the blood of Jesus, and I believe that he died for me and saved me. So
I talked to these folks over here.
So yeah, you know, she actually gave me one of those things, and I still have it. I actually put it on the microphone. I don't know if it's gonna. Yeah, I actually put it on the microphone. I still have it. I thought it was pretty nice. You know, nice. I was like, I appreciated that. It's nice to get a meaningful gift sometimes. So if I ever go back out and I use this microphone, you guys are gonna see that little thing attached to it, which I thought was kind of cool. Robert Spencer says, apologies, Ben Shapiro is, oh no worries, man, is against IVF. Okay, Ben Shapiro is against IVF because the unused fertilized eggs are disposed of. Okay, so he's saying conception has already happened to those eggs, and you get one viable one or whatever, and the rest of them they have in the freezer get disposed of. That's an interesting take on it, actually. It's hard to describe stuff because YouTube automatically kicks out comments with its algorithm. I don't know, I get it. And no, don't even trip, man. You know, don't worry. But I understand what you're saying now. That's an interesting take because, yeah, technically conception happens for those other embryos. And most of those do get kind of put to the biohazard box, I guess, you know. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so this lady, so this is an older woman right here, and I tried to specifically seek out, like, I was trying to think, like, you know, what do the older folks have to say who've kind of lived through a lot of these changes and changes in the culture? And I found this woman on the other side here, the kind of progressive feminist side. I don't think I saw an older woman on the other side. I would have liked to interview her too, because then I would have had a young woman plus an old woman's perspective on the same side for each of them. But anyway, this is what she had to say.
The pro-life guys, and I wanted to talk to you and just see what your thoughts were on this entire situation. You know, has abortion made society better or worse? And I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, well, I used to be over there.
Oh.
I was brought up Catholic.
Okay.
So my experience puts me over here.
To move from there over to here.
Yeah, see, that's already interesting, right? Because it's like she used to be on that side. And it's like, what? And then she's a woman too, so she has that lived experience. So it's like, what is it that finally changed her mind, you know? Robert Spencer says he's against it because he consistently believes in birth at conception. So all the discarded embryos are the same as an abortion. Yeah, that, and I can see his argument there. That's a very unique argument. I guess it makes sense when you think about it. It seems to be consistent with what the church says, but we didn't read that on the church's. Well, I didn't read that whole thing, so to be fair.
What is it? What finally changed, or what changed your mind?
Well, I got pregnant when I was 18, which is 100 years ago. Yeah. And
no.
Well, close. And there was no compassion for life. There was only compassion for pregnant or not pregnant. That's not life to me. And I was 100% a Catholic kid.
There was a guy running around. I gotta play again. He's just like, is masturbation murder, guys? So, and that's preconception, right? So he's basically saying, like, if you're a fapper, basically, like, are you murdering hundreds of thousands of kids? It's just, to me, it doesn't make sense because it's not conceived, right? It's not like Ben Shapiro IVF argument. But we got to hear it again because that was very funny. Oh, shoot.
The compassion for pregnant or not pregnant. That's not life to me. And I was 100% a Catholic kid. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, my cat's inside.
Catholic at the time, but it didn't jive with the values that I was brought up with. This particular thing. So it's not pro-abortion to me. It's pro-life with the choice. Because what do they know about me? They don't know anything about me. They didn't know what happened to me in my life. I do, so I stand here. Anything else?
So, yeah, I asked them that question. They gave me their whole spiel. And I'm like, hey, it seems like what a lot of these folks are talking about over here is to have control over their bodies, make the choice for themselves whether or not they want to, and it's a rights issue. They don't want the government or whoever.
Big ups to Mark, because when I kind of did that, and he's like, let's get a good panning shot. Appreciate Mark for being here and taking all these recordings. He really helped me out that day, man.
For telling them what to do, what would you say to that? And it seems like a lot of their responses kind of centered around, either God or this is wrong, or once there's conception, then it's a life of its own. Is there a gray zone between maybe 4 months in, now it's wrong to get an abortion, versus 4 weeks or something like that? What would you say to what they're saying in terms of that there's another human with its own rights? How do you answer that? It's okay.
I'm sorry. I don't look at every sperm as a god.
See that kid asking about his masturbation murder. I don't know why. I'm sorry. That just made me laugh.
So that's the answer to them. Okay. Well,
Yeah, because moment of conception honors the sperm, not the mother, not the child. It honors the sperm.
That's kind of an interesting argument. I guess I'm not entirely sure what she means by that in terms of honoring it. But, okay, that's interesting. Maybe you guys might understand it better than me.
got it.
What do we know about what the mother has to face, the potential mother? Besides that, why isn't a guy wearing condoms? By the way, I have had an abortion.
You have had one?
Yes. And let me tell you how it happened. I don't mind sharing the story if you want it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
I was a single mom. I went to school, got my couple of degrees, but in the process, I had an IUD. I learned my lesson, okay? And every time I saw my doctor, I said, well, what do we do about this IUD? And he said, are you having any trouble with it? And I said, no, it's working fine, until it didn't.
Yeah, I know they're not 100% effective from what I've read online.
Until they weren't. And then I had a choice. And so I talked to the doctor and I said, what if I carry this baby to term? What if I decide to have this kid?
Yeah.
Because there was a very strong likelihood that I would spontaneously abort.
I don't know why, man. That kind of gives me a little bit of chills, because it's just like you think about your relations with your own girlfriend if they got, a IUD, and it's just like it works, but it's not, things do happen sometimes. You could still possibly get her pregnant, and that's what happened to her. So that's something to keep in mind, man. That's really something to keep in mind. Becomes a whole person. The egg chooses the sperm.
Early in my pregnancy. So who do I risk? My child who's standing next to me, or the probability of having a spontaneous abortion? That was the choice I had to make. I want to be able that all the young women, all of you who are faced with that kind of thing, have that choice.
Okay, well, so that was her. This is kind of some B-roll here. We might skip some of this.
This guy looks pretty into it, man. I want to talk to him. To ask you,
Okay, that guy's wasn't that good. It really wasn't that good. It's just easier if we just forward that.
But no matter what you do, rich or white,
they got the.
Yeah, I didn't want to see his
also, a lot of
interview.
these fetuses, they look just like animal fetuses.
It's just, I'm sorry. It just needs to go.
Banning a lot. And,
Okay, we're almost to the. All right.
I think it's a much more complicated topic than being better or worse. There's a lot of nuance that goes into it, and ultimately it comes down to it's a choice, and women deserve the choice to make that themselves. Like, we deserve bodily autonomy. We shouldn't have our bodies being part of politics at all. So
that sounds really simple. I notice when I walk past them, they got the pamphlets, and the pamphlets will show like those pictures of like bloody fetuses and stuff like that. It's all very shock and awe, you know what I mean? And
Robert.
Is there a gray area? They go straight to murder. Over here, it's about rights and choice, things like that. So they'll show you the bloody pictures, say it's murder, this and that. Is there some kind of gray zone where maybe their opinions have any basis in reality? Is like 6 months too much or something like that?
Like, you can be pro-choice and pro-life at the same time. So if, you can think that abortion isn't a good thing, but by making it legal, you protect the women who are going to have abortions anyways. And I think if you really are against abortion, then you should support, ways of reducing abortions that are not just making it illegal, like universal health care and daycare for children, and lower taxes for poor people and higher taxes for the billionaires. So single moms, there's ways. Yeah, better social safety net so that the people who have abortions don't feel like they need to get them. Because a lot of times it comes from a place of like, I'm poor and I can't take care of this child. Or just basically better sex education, because we all know that people are going to sleep with each other either way, you know?
And people are always going to get abortions, so this is a matter of whether or not they're safe or not.
Yeah.
So if it is overturned, then like people are just going to be still getting abortions, but putting their bodies at much more risk to literally dying. So.
And it will be poor women putting their bodies at risk.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
women of color specifically, like to a larger extent than.
It's interesting. So I asked them this question. So I was a child support officer for 5 years at the Department of Child Support, and I talked to a lot of single moms and a lot of dads, you know, and stuff like that, and a lot of folks from lower income backgrounds too, you know. And I asked them that question. So I said, you know, a lot of stuff you hear on this side is basically what you're telling me, like, hey, we can't afford it, you know, this is maybe I'm just not ready for a child, these kinds of things, and I want to have a choice to be able to do that. And I asked them, like, you know, hey, what's your answer to that? You know, they say, hey, well, we're all about you. We want to take care of you. There's programs or this or that.
Low-income areas are the ones that suffer the most. I mean, if you really think about, like, if you have the infinite amount of resources that, multimillionaires and billionaires have, would they really, like, suffer if they had another child in terms of resources? And the answer is absolutely not. So.
I mean, yeah, they'd be fine, but yeah, child support would come in and kick them in the nuts pretty hard, though. Robert Spencer says, super expensive stuff for a government that is already in debt.
When you think about in a domestic and also large scale in terms of like the entire United States, I mean, this has a huge financial consequence to it in terms of family life for everybody. That's one thing I would definitely think about.
Yeah, and I mean, even like, we're talking about forcing women to have children, where if you look around the country right now, there's literally a shortage on baby formula. Like there's shortages on food for babies. So it's like, yeah, we're forcing you to have this child that you probably aren't even going to be able to, especially if you are part of a lower income community, like where are the resources? Literally, where are the resources? They don't exist.
Okay, well, anything else you'd like to share just before I'm out? Anything that the folks need to know?
I think if you're really against abortion, supporting this movement and supporting democratic policies, you'll actually reduce the number of abortions. So you'll be more successful if you join this side.
I think that was the last interview. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that. So yeah, that was my video on abortion. Yeah, I think the comments were, they're all right. I didn't really get much love on this video. One person said, "My body, my choice," advocates saying a very different tune when forcing other Americans to get the jab. Yeah, that's about it. But yeah, that was pretty much that, man. I don't know. I just wanted to react to that because that video kind of held a close thing to my heart. Hello, where is the force in consensual sex? Robert, are you talking about that recent thing about Star Wars where they have kind of like a same-sex couple and they're using the Force to to conceive the baby? Or are you talking about something completely different? I think you're talking about something different. My bad. I'm just tripping. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had today for y'all. Let me see. Oh, shit. That ain't it. Where the hell is it? Oh, did I X that off? There we go. But yeah, so hope you guys like that video. That's one of the older ones. It'll probably not get picked up again. And I don't know. If I get another chance like that, I'd definitely make a video. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about that. Let me see if I can find an article about that real quick. Star Wars uses Force to conceive child. Damn it. I don't know if this is new. New Star Wars show uses Force to conceive. I saw this somewhere on the internet. First, we learn that Mother Correal is the one who carried May and Osha during pregnancy. Then it's implied heavily that the force was used to compel the conception and birth without a father. In fact, the birth of the girls is taken as a miracle to the coven and is something they keep secret from the outside world. Didn't know that. It was excellent. I don't care what Klaus says. What did Klaus say? Oh, but yeah, anyways. So that was that. I'll probably cut it out early today, man, just because I got to nurse these teeth back to health. I got some antibiotics to take. And I wanted to give you guys something today because I do want to stream every Saturday. Acolyte. Yeah, I think so. I do want to stream every Saturday at 7 and keep up with the schedule. Hopefully next week, man, the pain will be gone. This wisdom teeth situation has been pretty freaking crazy for me, man. But hopefully it'll get better, and by Monday I'll be good. That would be pretty freaking sweet. So I'll probably cut it off here now. I appreciate everyone who watched. Robert, Trevor, Klaus, Shadrach, Dan the Man. You guys made streaming fun. So I'm going to cut the stream and try to get some videos out for you guys tomorrow. And then, hopefully do another stream next week. That's my plan. If you guys have anything you guys want me to react to, always let me know. I was thinking about maybe making a video or something and just kind of advertise a sort of like child support consultation. I did agree talking to that guy, and if there's more people who want to, maybe I can just do it like donation based or whatever. But I don't know. I'll think about that more and see if I end up going with that. Shadrach says, great stream. Thanks for being here, man. Klaus says, hope you get better soon. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyways, I'll let y'all go and see you guys soon.